The 2022 first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs is now over. Today we're going to be looking at doing a preview of round 2. We'll examine the 4 matchups we have now for this round and make some predictions. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're looking at the round 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. We're going to do the preview for what to expect in these series and some predictions here for fun as well. In the first round, we saw lots of great hockey. We saw 5 of the 8 series go to 7 games. I'm not sure if you're part of our bracket challenge that we did for the community, for the channel here, but I think there was only about 28 or 29 people that signed up for it. But within that, I did submit my predictions, so they are public. So I'll look at those here quickly today, and I'm going to actually talk a little bit about what I submitted as a bracket. And there's a couple things I might kind of be having second thoughts on now, because obviously there's more injuries that we know of that I couldn't have predicted a number of weeks ago, and some different things that are happening as well. But in the first round, I did get all 8 series correct. I did predict the Tampa Bay Lightning to beat the Leafs. I did predict the Florida Panthers to win over the Capitals. I predicted the Canes to beat the Bruins and the Rangers to beat the Penguins, all in the Eastern Conference. I didn't get all the number of games in the series correct. That's a little challenging to do as well. But I did get all the right teams, at least, in the Western Conference. I did pick the Oilers to get through, as well as the Flames to set up the Battle of Alberta. We saw the Oilers beat the LA Kings. We saw the Avalanche sweep the Predators, and the St. Louis Blues, of course, beat the Wild in a long, hard-fought 7-game series. So certainly lots of great teams made to move on. Lots of great teams are going home. We saw lots of great hockey this year, and unfortunately not everybody could win. So let's set up here. First up, your Eastern Conference semifinal matchups in round 2. So the Carolina Hurricanes against the New York Rangers. Now, when I submitted my bracket, I predicted the Rangers were going to pull off an upset. Now, I'm not completely sure I still feel that way, but you always see an upset somewhere in these playoffs, and I thought maybe this might be the spot. So when I predicted both these two teams to win and meet in round 2, that is what I put on my bracket. I'll be completely transparent in that regard, but now I'm kind of having some second thoughts after what I've seen in round 1, and I think the Canes are going to take this one, and I'm predicting Carolina wins in 6 games. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Rangers pull this off, to be completely honest. I think it's going to be really, really close. The Canes are expected to have Frederik Andersen back. Antti Ranta played well, so they got 2 great goalies. Igor Shesterkin had a good series against Pittsburgh, but I wouldn't say he was great across the board. He had some really good games near the end of the series, especially to help get them through and pull off the 3-1 comeback that they had to do against the Penguins. But I'm not sure that he was as good as he could be. Will he be better in round 2? We'll see. The Rangers' power play was clicking at a real high rate, 31%. That played a big role. But at the same time, I do have concerns over Artemi Panarin. Didn't have a great series against Pittsburgh. Yes, he scored the series-clinching winner in overtime, Game 7. But overall, I wondered if he might have been hurt or if he's dealing with something, because he just has not looked right. So will that continue to be an issue in round 2? Time will tell. I thought Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider especially picked it up later into the series, which was good to see. The middle part of that lineup is pretty deep. But the Carolina Hurricanes, as much as they have real solid penalty killing, and it's the forecheck. They just come at you wave after wave after wave. All of their lines seem to play the same way, and they just come at you and come at you and come at you and cause turnovers and just wreak havoc. And the Rangers do have a lot of younger defense back there, and I kind of wonder if that might become a problem for the Rangers. But I think, if looking back though, I do think the Rangers are going to have some success. Like they have the scoring, they have the youth, which is good. Both of these teams are coming off big Game 7 victories, so there's no real issues that way for one team being rested more than the other or anything of that nature. So, I think it's going to be a tight series, but I think the forecheck of the Canes and the defensiveness and the penalty kill is going to overcome that Ranger power play, shut them down, and it could go 7, but I'm going to say Canes in 6. Now, the Battle of Florida. We have the Lightning against the Panthers. Now, when I submitted my bracket, I did pick Florida to win this matchup, and I'm sticking with that. Now, the Lightning obviously willed themselves through a Game 7 victory against the Leafs, but I think that they might be running out of gas. I honestly, they barely beat the Leafs. It was a 1-goal game in Game 7. But, at the end of the day here, Braden Point got hurt, and that's a big, big loss for them. Of course, that just happened in the 7th game. He missed the last 2 periods, basically. He's doubtful for Game 1. Probably going to miss more than that. Kucherov doesn't appear to be 100%. Now, I do say Vasilevsky is got the edge over Bobrovsky. So goaltending, I'd give an edge to the Lightning. But Vasilevsky wasn't always himself in that series either. Like, he had some games, like in games 5 and 7, I thought especially, or actually 6, 7, sorry, that he was a big part of the difference to shut the Leafs down. But early on, I was like wondering what was wrong with Vasilevsky. He was letting in more too, so I don't know. Florida's very, very offensively gifted, like the Leafs are, and I think they're going to give Tampa a really difficult time that way. Both teams have a good power play, at least they did in the regular season. Florida had nothing in the first round against Washington. They won a playoff series without a power play goal, which is almost unheard of. Absolutely crazy. So, we'll see where that goes. Tampa has been the better on the PK lately as well. Tampa had the better power play, so really, if you think about it, goaltending, we'll say edge Lightning. Special teams, edge Lightning, based on what we've seen so far. But I just think Florida is going to get themselves full of confidence. Their first series win in a long time. We get some injuries to the Lightning, and I think that the injuries are going to take its toll. They're going to continue to wear down, and Florida is going to pull this off, and I'm hoping it's going to be a 7-game series. I'm going to say Panthers in 7. But again, Tampa, it's really hard to bet against the back-to-back champs, and I won't be shocked if they pull this off. But I think this is the year, after last year Tampa beat Florida in the playoffs, I think this is a year that the Panthers if you will, kind of like Big Brother. If you look at the two teams in the state of Florida, Florida has had nowhere near the success Tampa has up until just, recently they're starting to get there. And I think this is the year they take a big step and they move on. Now in the West, we're going to have the Battle of Alberta, Edmonton against Calgary. This is going to be a tough series as well. Now on my bracket, I picked the Oilers. I'm having second thoughts on that one as well, and I'm going to pick Calgary in 7 games. Now, Calgary, I think, has the edge in goal. I think Markstrom will outduel Mike Smith. Mike Smith was really good in Game 7, but he was certainly very iffy early on. He had a couple of real gaffes in games there that are just really questionable. I just don't know if you're going to get the consistency out of Mike Smith, whereas Markstrom is predictable and consistent. I think the Flames have a deeper group of forwards. Now, they do have an injury on the back end with Chris Tanev, which is going to be big. But Leon Draisaitl's also hurt for the Oilers, which is also big. Now, he didn't want to acknowledge the injury, and he played through it in Game 7. But I'm not sure that he's 100% or anywhere close. Edmonton's had the better power play in the playoffs so far. Calgary's only at 8%, whereas Edmonton was at 36%. So the Calgary PK are going to have to come up big. And they're going to have to get a lot of strong play out of their top guys like Gaudreau and Tkachuk, who didn't have the greatest series in round 1, but finished strong. I think that they're going to have an edge there. McDavid's going to be on a mission, you know that. But without his running buddy Leon, if being at 100%, if Draisaitl has to miss time, then I think the Oilers are going to be in serious trouble. And as much as I really think that Edmonton could take this, I just think that between the Draisaitl injury and the edge in goal, slight edge in defense, if Tanev can play, Calgary definitely has an edge there. And I think it's going to be tight, it's close, but I give my edge to the Calgary Flames in a long 7-game series in the Battle of Alberta. Lastly, we have the Avalanche and the Blues going at it here, and I think St. Louis could give Colorado a real hard time, but on my bracket when I submitted it, I did pick the Avalanche, and I'm sticking with them, but I do think the Blues can push this to as much as 6 games. Now, the Avalanche had an easy time in round 1, St. Louis did not, so they're certainly rested, whereas the Blues are probably tired and a little bit beat up compared to the Avalanche. Now, the Avalanche will have Darcy Kuemper back. We know that for sure. So that's good news. Goaltending, you get Kuemper likely against Binnington to start. I would think that, it's probably a pretty comparable matchup. And I'm not really sure I'm going to give an edge to either side. The Avalanche definitely are slightly more offensive. Their high-level elite talent, though, is way more than the Blues. You got McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. St. Louis has some really good players. I don't know if they have elite players to that level. But at the same time, you could say that the Blues might be just as deep. They have a real deep group of forwards there that can all kind of produce here. So it's going to be tight. They're going to give them a hard go. That much we know for sure. I think the Blues have had an edge so far in special teams in this playoffs after one round. The Avalanche, though, based on the PK, the Blues had an edge. Power play, though, the Avalanche clicked at a 43.8% rate against Nashville. That is like a freight train coming right at you. So I just don't think St. Louis can get the job done. I think the Avalanche are just a little bit too much here. And I think we're going to end up with a Western Conference final of the Avalanche against the Flames and an Eastern Conference final of the Panthers against the Hurricanes. So that's what I'm predicting. Those are my thoughts. That's what I'm going to give you here as a preview and prediction for round 2. Of course, I want to know what everybody else thinks, so let me know your thoughts down below. Let me share with me in the community your predictions, and we'll discuss in the comments. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.